Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And here on Eastern Daylight Time, it is about 3:20, and I was awakened to pray. Hey, Miss Chloe. And it's happened before with me that in the middle of the night, the angels will dump me out of bed and said to say, do a live stream. And I'm like, come on, it's the middle of the night. Come on. And I'm like, but why? Come on. Because you need to. Now, I've had this conversation for those of you who've been with me for a while, in that, when 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 the call is made, if you're true to your faith, then you got to answer the call. And it's like, okay. So this morning, you know, 3:20 in the morning, cheers by the way, I'm here to say prayers and answer the call. Whatever that call is this morning at 3:20. And so I love you all. I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have just opened my phone up and started this. But I was had been thinking about a subject, um, for one of my little podcasts here. And the title was sort of running around in my head that this is sort of a work in progress title, and it is, so you want to be a shaman. And then it came to me yesterday. I was watching a video of Elon Musk talking about his oldest son who has transitioned, and that he was, if you should watch the video. It's, I can't explain it, but that how he basically explains how they took his son away, and that by doing so they dropped the name, or it's a dead name. So his son's name is dead now because the son has transitioned. Oh, Miss Pearl, I was thinking of you when I started this 5 minutes, well, 10 minutes ago, because I had to shake loose. I'm like, woke up, like, gotta go out there and pray. Okay, but wait a minute, can I wake up a minute? So, but this is what I thought about, which was an odd way of looking at it. And uh, I- in doing the cards, one of the cards, and I don't know which one it is. It might be bat. I haven't tried to look because this thought just sort of came, and I was cogitating on it, right? And it was that, in order for you to um, truly become, one of the things that must be done on a shaman's journey is to die a shaman's death, meaning you've got to be able to in some way, shape, or form, allow the old self to die. And when you get up from whatever ceremony it may be, that you are awakened. Thus, my name Hawkeye, Two Feathers, because that's my shaman name. Because I went through the process and progress to die the shaman's death. I really wasn't ready for it. That was the 3 days on the river without food or water. And I'm coming up on an anniversary actually, because it happened about August the 3rd. And so we're coming up on an anniversary of when I had went through that, when I went through the shaman's death of, it was 3 days really on the river. That, and when I got back to my truck, it took me another day to get unstuck from the sand. So so I was actually stuck for 4 days, but at least I had water and shade and everything when I got back to my truck. But I was thinking, now here's this gentleman talking about his eldest son. I believe it was his eldest. See, we're talking about him in the past tense when he hadn't actually died, and not from the interview anyway. But so that the dead name. What do you mean, dead name? So his given name, Xavier, and I was joking, Xavier Javier, but I really, and I apologize for that, but I wasn't making any reference to his son, by the way, just the name. But so here are all of these children, basically. At 72, I look back and I go, oh my God, when I was 15, I was just a little bitty kid still. So here are all these children, and Elon even said it, it's evil. And I remember certain people and stuff, I was pedophiled by priests. So I understand the predator thing. I was molested at the age of 13. And so it's like, and different things have happened to me over the years. One reason I had to get the hell out of Tampa. A bunch of weirdos down there. But there's some good folk. But I had to move out because there was some weirdos down there. I don't know if there are anymore, but so, and I don't really like to go back down there. I really don't. I mean, I don't really like to go back down there, but I do need to go back down at some point here soon, because my aunt Shirley will be 87 or something, and she's not getting any younger, and neither am I. And so I should try to make the effort to go visit with my aunt before either one of us gets older. But so I was thinking about the dead name, and my little angel troop up there was like, they were like, that's like a shaman's death. And I was like, what? Their dead name. So they're dying. They're leaving their one name behind. They're leaving their self to become another self. And I was like, wow. My shaman death did not include a sex change. However, I have been growing my hair since then. Do I look lovely? I thought about putting some lipstick on, a little rouge, and, painting myself up and going, oh, gee, I feel like a girl today. But that might get taken the wrong way. But my beard's so funny. I feel like a girl today. But anyway, what do you think you expect? 3:30 in the morning. But so, in the thought about how the how there are all these children who are going, they're dying while they're still alive. They're changing into another personality, and it's like I grew up with a lot of gay friends. Didn't know some of them were gay until later. But so it's like, can you just, these folks were gay and grew up and became themselves and became good people, but they didn't have to do all this other kind of stuff. They didn't have to change sexes. They didn't feel like there was a need to do so uh, in a relationship. There was one who was more male or female than the other, and that was that, you know but the idea of all this transgenderism and stuff, there was some gay that I knew down in Tampa, they loved to dress up. And, the one who was a dancer at the Horny Bull. And when he was in drag, it was hard to tell until you got really up close and could see his shadow. But act the part and play the part, absolutely, So, God, oh, I'm so glad I'm not in Tampa anymore. But so the things that I've seen when I would rather have not, um, but that it'd be, people have got their own, thing. Okay, between two consenting adults, okay. But when it involves children, when it involves messing with other folks', when it involves somebody who doesn't really want to participate, but in somehow, in my case, and in a lot of other cases, like in Young Impressionables, it's by a member of the church, or it's someone you're supposed to look up to, or maybe it's a coach or whatever. And so it's like, well, and sometimes a family member, but that was not the case with me. But it was, with three different priests at different times, but three different priests. I've often wondered if, because, the priesthood is such a close knit group, if they didn't pass my name around like somebody, actually four. So, like, Monsignor, you know, used to throw me up against the wall every morning when I got to Tampa Catholic. And he would get right close up in my face and breathe in my face and push me up against the wall. And then I found out, that he liked little boys. He liked teenage boys. So Father Norman Balthazar, and he was the pastor of my grandfather's church. And every Sunday, Norman would give my grandfather hell. He goes, "Your son, David," even after I graduated high school, he pursued me through my grandfather. And it was like, what is up with this sicko? And I'd come to find out that, hey, the rumps, come to find out that I think he had a sicko kind of, whip me, chain me, tie me to the bed kind of thing. And it was like, so, all of these things, like, wait a minute. Now, I didn't want any of this. I actually would have loved to have had just a decent relationship with a girlfriend, I mean, just, but all this other queer shit and stuff, no. But so here there are folks, these folks who have decided that they needed to transition. And it's for whatever reason. And having been a teenage boy that had weird thoughts, and I don't know, am I a girl? I mean, my breast used to hurt. Milk cow, how are you? How about that? Getting along pretty good. I think I'm going to keep it until my birthday in September. I think I'm going to keep it till then. I don't, it bothers me. But I will keep my mustache because my soup strainer. So how you doing, Milk Cow? It's been a while. God love you. Definitely need to pray right now. I got laid off. Oh, sweet Jesus. Needing guidance on where to go now. Well, then you might be the one that they woke me up for. Because they really threw me out of bed, which ain't hard, you know. And I rolled to the floor and went, "What's up?" And they were like, "Time to pray." And that you've known me for a while now, Milk Cow, and in that, in my faith, and folks, well, you don't use the word Jesus very often. Well, no, for me, it's just sort of a given. You know, are the angels around me? I'm, are they protecting me? They have over the years. I just accept that they're there, you know. And maybe sometimes it's like they remind me, hey, remember us? Like this morning when they kicked me out of bed. I'm wired right now. I've been working on music all night. Well, that's not a bad thing. I heard so many stories about Jesus and NDE videos that I'm convinced there's something to it. Oh, I absolutely am convinced in the Jesus thing. Um, but that sounded a little flippant, didn't it? But I guess that years ago, it's been over 10 years ago, that I was at wit's end and was on bad meds, had been knocked in the head again, they'd given me bad meds that really screwed my system. I went into seizures. I mean, just constant seizures for like 3 weeks. It was horrible. And I was coming off of phenobarbital, which took a lot longer than a couple of days. And so it's like, when I die and they lay me to rest, I'm gonna go to the place that is best. When I die and they lay me to rest, gonna go to the place that's best. Gonna go to the spirit in the sky. I've heard many stories about. So having had a bunch of operations and where they take you right to that near death thing. Having having been there several times over the years, plus my own 3 days in the swamp thing that happened about 10 years ago. Um, and the angels came and lifted me out of my body and took me there was a spirit on either side, and they just took me up through the swamp, and my body was curled up in the sand underneath some palmetto fronds, and it was so hot, and I just asked Jesus, please. And the answer was lay in the arms of Mother Earth. So for me, Jesus is just not a go to church religious figure. To me, Jesus represents the essence of the Creator. But here's the thing, every single one of us has that essence. And most people feel that they have to have a religion in order to have a conversation with God or Jesus. And the simple fact is, as I've learned over the years, and as Mother Mary has appeared to me twice in my lifetime and sends me messages along the way, in that because religion has been corrupted, her message to me was, please tell people that Jesus is like right here. You don't need a religion to get there. Faith is in your heart at all times. Once you believe that the Creator does exist, in the quantum is all around us, and so do you have the faith? Yes or no? Well, somebody says, well, but you don't go to church. And I said, because I don't need to go to church to understand who my God is. I was honestly pretty depressed at first. Yeah, please keep your head up. This is just God telling me it's time for a change. Yeah. And here's, oh God, I've lost my job so many times in my lifetime. And I mean, I just went to work one day and they were like, wait. And 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 when I opened the door, the guy was like, wait, what? And he was like, go back outside. And I'm like, what did I do? And he was like, well, you're fired. What? They because I didn't know enough about electrical things, and I was working for an electrical supply house, and they decided to fire me and hire this other guy, and he was black. So I have been the brunt of DEI way back in it would have been the 80s. Yeah, it would have been in the 80s. And so it's like, wait a minute, but what did I do? I didn't do anything wrong. It's just that I didn't learn quick enough for them. And I'd been there about 3 months, and I was humping it. I was learning about, different types of plugs and wire sizes and different kind of setups. And, somebody said they needed a box for a, 200 amp. I knew what I needed to have to go with it, and clamps, and they might need a, wire to go up a pole, and how many, and the needed weatherhead and all these types of things. So I'd learned all these things, and but I didn't learn them quick enough. And and the guy was like, well, you're young, you're smart, you learn quick, which was all the things. I was like, yeah, but you're fired. You've been doing this a really good job, but you're fired. I'm sure you'll find another job doing something else, but you're fired. And I'm like, but I need the job, and it took me a while to get that one. You know what I mean? My job relied on the housing industry. Oh, yeah, which is in bad shape in my area, so they couldn't afford to keep all their employees. My boss was holding back tears. Sometime in the past year, they had to do this. Yeah. I absolutely do understand the feeling. When I got laid off when they, as an engineer, I'm making $17 an hour. And they were like, well, dude, here's your pink slip. You got 2 weeks. Which was kind of them, to give me 2 more weeks. And then after firing me, they tried to rehire me through a different agency at lower money, but you can keep your job. And it was like $3 less an hour. And I was like, you mother. And as bad as I really needed that job, I told them to shove it. Take this job and shove it. I ain't working for you no more. But I really missed that job, and I'm a lot of people, and I knew there and everything. But and in hindsight, I might have should have bit the bullet for at least 6 more months, which would have given me another cushion to try to find another job. Yeah, they don't give people warning here. Nope. And what part of the country what state do you live in? Oh, KC. Okay, now are you listening? So they woke me up for this. Please send prayers to KCMO, and may the angels walk for Milkow to help find another job. You guys know what's going on, so help this person out. You woke me up, which is okay, but if you woke me up, then now we know where the prayers need to go, at least in one direction. What? Hey, Scotty boy, what's going on? So there are other folks here in the middle of the night. And I mean it. And I mean it. They woke me up to get here, and which I have accepted. And it's a little while back, a few months, hell, it could have been a year, I don't know. I was having sort of a little argument with, being woke up in the middle of the night. And they were like, but you volunteered. And I was like, but yeah, shit. Yeah, I did. I volunteered. It was kind of hard for me to like ignore. By the way, Hawkeye, I'm not sure if I've told you since I'm not on these streams much, but I have. Oh, wow. And a fiance. Is he the potter? Well, blessings. I know that's a crappy time to lose a job when you got any child. So gonna have a little talk with Jesus, gonna tell him all about my problems, gonna hear my crying by, gonna hear me sigh and sigh, gonna have a little talk with Jesus, gonna tell him all about my problems, gonna have a little gonna talk with Jesus, makes me high, makes me high. Anyway, but so there are folks who is like they're afraid to talk about Jesus. I think that my instructions have been that anybody that wants to talk, I'll have a conversation. But I am not somebody who follows the Bible a lot, right? About to light up myself. Okay, well then I'll go back and do the same again. we'll share this little moment in the morning. But so the idea to me of the Jesus Christ, and some people have called it a complex. And at one time, I had a therapist who said that I had the Jesus Christ complex. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not trying to be Jesus Christ. I'm just, and she said, it's because you always try to, you're always trying to help people, which is good. But she said, you help people, then you stretch yourself too thin. And then you end up not helping anybody at all. And then you get flustered. And it was true. Well, I'll help you. And I'd go over here. And then sometimes I'd neglect somebody else that I really should have followed up on, this thing. But then somebody said, well, I could really lose your help. And I'm like, well, but, I'm kind of busy, but I really need your help. And I'd go help them. And then, which meant I left this one slag, drag, and otherwise I didn't take care of them right. And so, but she was absolutely right. I had the Jesus Christ complex in that I was trying to help too many people too much. And I mean, physically, go to somebody's house after work, on Saturday, Sunday, whatever, go help them. And to the detriment of my own demise, I guess you could say. Helping people is a careful balance, needs to be done in a way that empowers people and doesn't make them dependent. Well, some of the help was just like my car broke down and I need help with the, and of course my vehicle was breaking down all the time too. So, sometimes it was a reciprocal thing, but it was that, um, there were times, in hindsight, where I should have just said, man, I just can't make it, and finished up what I'd, 2 or 3 days in on a 4-day job, and I'd slack on that fourth day, a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of, trim paint and a little bit of something, and I just wouldn't quite finish all the way, or it would take me forever to finish that last little bit. I was horrible at it, and it became my bane for years. So, but when I was having my breakdown 10, 12 years ago, now I had been spiritual, all right? I have been in a spiritual mode for many years now. When I was traveling around with the powwows and and doing puppet shows and storytelling and meeting people and doing that thing and talking with the elders and talking with the one gentleman. I was up in Tullahoma, Tennessee at a big powwow, and he was a descendant of Crazy Horse, but he told me, he said, you have the gift. He said that, the creator has spoke to you. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, well, I haven't had a chance to do what he said I was going to do. I had an ailment and things have slowed me down, but I always wanted to go out to the reservation out there, in South Dakota. And he was like, you will come out and you will help to teach the children, and you'll use the puppets to tell the stories. So it's like, well, here I am now. Uh, what is this, Thursday? Tuesday night with Robert. We have done 136 shows. And it's like 100. That's like, and we've only missed a couple of days, meaning a week, but 136 shows. I had a psychic reading palm done recently with my fiance. First time for both of us. She was very fun, jaw dropping, accurate. You hadn't fully realized. Tuesday night, yeah. But so, and I mean, when we signed off, afterwards we were chatting, and I said, "Has it really been 136 shows?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine, ain't it?" Well, that's worth 3 years, not just a couple, 136 shows. And I'm thinking, how many stories? And most of them you know, have not been repeated. How many stories have I told in that length of time, And so it's like at least 136. Then there are times when, I'd read two, or like the other night, I read 3 or 4 stories in that one show. I believe reason Pearl asked about your birth year was because she was wanting to give you a similar information, Malika. I dream of touring as a musician. My birth year is 99. As someone asked, I must not have been. Yeah, I thought I was going to tour doing puppet shows, which included some musical interludes. Because if I did a puppet show, there were times when I wouldn't do puppets all the time because it was difficult. And so I do some music, do some song, play my harmonica, sometimes my guitar. And back then I didn't have my mandolin. And I got a mandolin now and I have not played it. And I really need to get it out. I've been hearing mandolin music in my head. And so it's like, and I had this little thing the other day and it was like, where did that come from? And I flattened Scruggs, and I can't remember which one played the man. There was somebody else that played the mandolin too, um, and there was a. Um, I remember watching one of them play, and they had asked him. He said, "How come you play the mandolin, but you don't play with double strings?" And he said, "That's right." He said, 4 strings is enough for anybody to play, and besides that, they're hard to keep tuned. And but when he plays the mandolin, and I was like, so I had my mandolin with just 4 strings, and I was like, wow, I really like this. It's like a super duper ukulele, wow. And then it was like, well, better put on, the second set. And then it was like, wow, this is really much harder to play. So I think I'm going to take one set of the strings off and turn it into a 4 string instead of an 8 string. And maybe I might be cheating, but at least until I can learn how to finger it, because it's got the neck's only like this wide, um, and the frets are a little closer, and with big fingers, it's hard sometimes to make some of the chords, but anyway. But to the point though, with the music, so I've been wrestling with it myself, and the music and the frequencies of music connect us with the spirit. They keep us connected with the spirit. And shame on me, I have not been playing music. Um, but it seems at this particular point in my life, I've been doing. The angels have had me doing a bunch of studying, and so it's like, well, I thought I knew this stuff, you know. God is all around us. The Creator's within us all. We're all a part of the quantum, and my faith has not wavered. And I'm like, so, so what's all the training for? Why do you have me going down certain rabbit holes? And how come they'll have me watch? videos or something or that, but there's always a message in there for me. There's always a little nugget of something. I might watch 3 hours and it might only be 2 minutes, but there'll be something in it. Now, watching the whole some of the podcasts I've watched, listened to, otherwise have been very, very, very insightful. Uh, Sometimes UFOs, sometimes military stuff, sometimes, what are you doing? You're not. When I started this, I was like, I know Barry ain't going to be awake. What the hell are you doing, man? It's 4 o'clock in the morning. What the fudge? Y'all ain't supposed to be up. I know they woke me up and threw me out of bed, But so Millicow needs some prayers. And there may be some other folks out there, because when they rolled me over in the clover, roll me over in the clover, do it again, boom boom. Wait, that's not the right song. But it was that, and I'm like, what's going on? And they were like, time to pray. And listening to scary history stories. Yeah, but you on Tubi or YouTube? It's a little early, but cheers. So they woke me up and had me listen to this podcast, 1999 Rabbit. Ooh, Lizzie Borden. I think every person that has been in chat tonight needs prayers. Then good, I'm here to facilitate matters. I don't know how, but I love yous, and I do continue to pray. So one of the things that came to me at one time not too long ago, and I've had this sort of way back when I had issues with this, and I have discussed it with y'all, and some of you might remember, but that I was like, I am not qualified to do this. What the hell did you have put me in this situation here? And I just, and they were like, nah, remember Mother Mary back when you was a kid? Yeah. Oh, shit. This is it. And then when she appeared over there in the room, it was like, oh, shit. Come on now, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So, but in this journey, actually, of all of us, it's that it's so very, the answer is that it's simple. And I'm listening to this podcast with these two people who are talking about their experiences with Jesus, and one is just a Catholic. I mean, he's Catholic. He goes to Mass every morning and takes the Eucharist. He's Catholic. I'm not, good for you. But his faith is Jesus. Nothing wrong with that. His faith is Jesus with God the Father. But his faith in Jesus is derived through the Catholic Church. Now, I'm not going to go through my pedophile issues with the church, but it happened, right? So I've seen the church change over the years. And if they had, if there was a Catholic church that had the old Latin Mass, I might actually go to that one. But this new Catholic stuff, I have just, nope, I'm sorry. It just can't go there. Because I feel that it's a false and fake religion. Because they've made so many changes within the church and the singing and the this and the that. And ain't nothing wrong with singing, don't get me wrong. But when I went back to Tampa Catholic and I saw how they changed the church into this weird thing, I was like, what happened to the old chapel? Oh, well, we tore it down and you built this monstrosity? It was horrible. I was ashamed of my church at one time and my faith, and the fact that I'd went back to Tampa Catholic and the old chapel that I thought was perfectly adequate was turned into this other object. And I was like, ew. So, but can I ask? Pisces fire. $11.28. Is that Scorpio? No, that's something in it. Never mind. But so anyway, over my many years, the answer has been, because I've laid myself prostrate on the ground, pretty much naked, and said, here I am, show me what I need to do. I'm in your hands. Now, I was 60-ish, 62, 3, 10 years ago. But like I said, I have had many a powwow, have sat around and, ate many a mushroom with the intent not to just get high, but to have chats with the other side. And I've had over 100 of those journeys. So my intent has always been pure in that. But my intentions have always been pure to find connection to the Creator, to the spirit world, if you will. But I did it without a religion. However, finding Native American traditions and thing sort of ended up being my religion, sort of, which has led me to be the shaman in training where I am now. But my faith in Jesus has never failed. I have pictures of Jesus over there and over there. There's one on the wall. There's a cross. There's, so, and somebody said, well, you don't talk about him. You must deny him. No, because there are some folks who are just not comfortable with hearing Jesus all the time. Sagittarius. What did I say? Not Sagittarius, but that is what I meant. Something I've noticed is that when people stumble into a dark path out of the innocence, the light is allowed to step in and turn them around, if they accept it. And that's why you always hear me say the prayer, every day I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you, and I mean this is my intent, right? That each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and then receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the Creator. And I mean it. And most of the time I say it in threes, which is a magic 3, if you will, with the universe. So, but if you will recite that to yourself, I accept and receive any knowledge and healing and wisdom from the Creator and from the universe. All you got to do is think it. Now, it's nice when you say things out loud because it creates a vibration like music does. So, but to simply say, I accept and receive the knowledge and the healing, the wisdom and the blessings from the Creator. Now you can go on and go, and my intentions are that I'm going to do good across the world. Okay. But if your intentions are true, then the Creator already knows what you're going to use the information for. Because if you want to accept the knowledge from the universe, the knowledge from the universe is going to lead you in how to use the knowledge from the universe. Now, there are some folks who, choose, even though they're talking to the universe, they're asking some dark shit. They just ain't talking the regular, normal kind of nope, they ain't. And so, and especially at this time of all this chaotic nonsense going on, good gosh almighty, there is so much evil with a big E and "vil" in the title that is flowing around. Lord have mercy. Don't stand in the way of some of these dark forces. But as I've talked about before, Millie Cow, I don't know if you were around for some of my conversations, but that when you, and Christians and other folks talk about it too, but they talk about the armor of God. Now I can profess to it because when I accepted my role, when I laid myself on the ground, it was like, get up, fool. But I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, get up, fool. You ain't doing yourself no good, half naked laying there on the ground. But I commit myself to the Lord. Well, good, but get up. You ain't doing yourself or anybody else any good laying there whining about it. And I sat up on the ground and I was like, what? That is not sort of what I was expecting. But they were like, get up. But I don't know what I'm going to do. Right. Because you're in a stasis period. You're in a learning spot. And whatever I needed was that sometimes time needs to go by until the cogs of the wheels of the universe line up, and then your cog or anybody else's, and you say, well, now what I'm going to do, I don't know. But you look around, and the cogs in the universe is turning and things. And then all of a sudden, there's another cog you never saw coming. You didn't know. You're sort of in a Clockwork Orange in a way. And then all of a sudden, this other wheel on the other side comes along, and your gear goes, see, oh my God, clink. And that's your next job. That's your next position. And that's how your energy, you continue to, operate in the universe, at least for a while, because for all the last job I had, I was like, I got this, I'm going to retire doing this job, making 17 to 20 bucks an hour. I'm going to be good to go because my house was paid for, until my last wife came along and mortgaged the place again. But learned that lesson well. I learned my lesson well. I don't know the name of that song. But I can hear the tune. But anyway, so in this world of stuff, All we got to do is just stop. If you're having issues with faith, okay, just stop what you're doing. That might be shaking and baking and what am I going to do? Because there were times I was just trembling. I don't have a freaking clue what I'm going to do. How am I going to get out of this one? And sometimes there just had to be. Now every time was different. Sometimes I'd like lose my job, and 3 days later, somebody's going, "Hey, I could use a hand." And I'd go, "Really? I just happen to be free." Well, come on, and it turned out to be a decent lead. Not a long one, well, work 6 months and blah, 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 and help somebody out on the farm. And you go, but you made it 6 months. And in the meantime, it gave you the means and the needs for you to meet other people and end up with another job. So it worked out. But at the time, I was hell bent for election. I just knew this was it again. Knew multi-syllable rhymes. What, I missed that? That's why you're awake right now. Well, you woke me up, damn it. It's your fault. You and Chloe and Barry must have been awake too, watching them scary histories. But oh, it's almost a 20. But so in looking around, there are many people who are being saved these days. And I'm not trying to speak against them, but they all seek a religion to do it. And my task has been, look, y'all, you're already saved. Just pay attention, because that's what Mother Mary told me years ago. If Jesus died for your sins, way back when we are born, people say, well, you have to be baptized because of original sin. That's bullshit. Okay. How can a baby have original sin? Well, the original sin is that you're being born again. What? Oh yeah, well, we gotta pray over you because you came out of the ether. Your soul entered a baby. And so we gotta wash off in case you brought anything nasty from the other side. What? Our souls have this. Edgar Casey, turned me onto this in the 70s for me, but in one of his readings, in that we have the opportunity before we are born, our souls have the opportunity to choose that our bodies, to choose, if I had the opportunity, you know, before I read the contract, to be David Null, aka Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I did not read the contract. I did not read the contract. But at the age of 7-ish, when I had First Communion in the Catholic Church, the statue of Mother Mary was talking to me. And then later on in life, I had, Mother Mary came to me in a small circle, in the woods down in our neighborhood. And then a few years back, she appeared right over there here in the house with a couple of her friends, you know. And so ever since then, my spiritual journey has been sort of like, I'm going to use this word, but chosen, but sort of anointed. And I don't care if anybody else believes it or whatever, but when Mother Mary showed up here in the room that night, right over there, I was like, oh, and she said, get your ass in here. And I was like, okay. And that was about it. But I knew what she meant. And there was a whole library of stuff that came to me at the time. And I'm still, some of it I still decipher, but one of the things that I had to decipher was that I have some spiritual guidance, you know, from the other side, my friends who, um, you know, they woke me up for me to be here this morning with y'all, and it's all right. I was only sleeping. I was only dreaming, keeping alive all the world all inside my window, taking my time. When I wake up early in the morning with my head on, I'm still yawning. Remember that tune? Beatles? Can't remember the song. But when I wake up in the middle of a dream with my head on, I'm still yawning. Yeah, before you have a chance. It's like, come over here. And then, of course, you know, there comes the circumcision for us guys. Snip, snip. You know, you mean that son bitch could have been 2 inches longer? You son bitch. I'm sorry, that was rude. Uh, that's the whole thing about this world of free will. Yeah. But now you're helping, inspiring, offering blessing. Yep. And you know, I was thinking about it earlier today as I'm sort of like, so at okay, I've you know, much to my dismay, you all started calling me a shaman. And I'm like, no, I'm just this guy on a spiritual journey. Well, but you know, so I'm with great reluctance, I've had to accept the term shaman. But in doing so, though, I'm like, I realized that actually it is a shaman's journey. I mean, it without trying to, you know, oh, what about this guy? Well, what about that guy over there? Well, what about this, you know, uh, this culture? Or, you know, am I sitting in a tent somewhere mixing up a magic potion? No, but I'm sitting in my chair packing a bowl. And so I will smoke a pipe with you, which by smoking our prayers. So for Millie Cow, is there an I in there? It's not Mill, it's Millie, right? I think. I have no idea what really defines a shaman. A person on a spiritual journey, basically, and what makes someone qualified. You might, but I would be reluctant to call myself a shaman as well, because anyone with a little bit of wisdom, but I'm also on a deep spiritual journey. See, well, then, Millie Cow, that would qualify you as a shaman in training. Right. Miss Pearl's an oracle. I would agree with that. Um, and see how we have all met and collided here, you know. But if you're on a spiritual journey, Millie Cow, then you're a shaman in training like me. Because the what a shaman person is someone who is on a spiritual journey. But the and when you get to a certain point, like I'm learning, is that when you get to a certain point, despite how you feel, you will be teaching others what you've learned, what you've experienced, and somebody will come up and something, the opportunity comes up, and the next thing you know, you're you're helping somebody out on their spiritual journey. And so here I am in the middle of the night getting ready to do a 20 with y'all. Why did y'all wake me up? And here I am having this conversation with y'all, which is going to be recorded, I guess. I have to fix the last video I put up, but I have to reset it. When I do a video on this phone, it saves it in private, and then it has to do some processing, and then I have to go back in and make it public. But this should be one that should obviously be made public. But we just passed the 20. But a 20 is always in our head, right? Now, where I differ with some other and I would consider them very holy people. I tried for years to deny that I see and talk to angels and devils. Yeah, trying to deny it, it don't work, Tessabith Pearl. I tried to deny this and that, and I'd be out out on the middle of the lake in the middle of the night, just looking at the stars and experience the experience. Then they come down and just pick me up and zoom me out into outer space. And I'm like, son of a bitch, and and then after whirling you around in space a little while, plop you back in. I got plopped back in my kayak, and I went like this and went, oh no, what was that all about? But I understand more now about that little journey up into the ether. And what I learned since then was that they were showing me what the quantum field looks like from the quantum, which is your spiritual self. So we are a part of the quantum field, which is all around us, and that's heaven. That's it. If you want pearly gates, well, then you manifest them. But I don't want to go to a gated community for the rest of my spiritual life. Oh, hell no. No. I want to be able to travel freely throughout space and time. So if you go to that heaven with pearly gates and you go on in, that might be all she wrote. That's all I got to say. Just another prison someplace else. If that's where you imagine where your spirit's going to go, it's made out of gold, which is like you couldn't get out. Just interesting. I don't want to sit on a cloud and play a lute all the time. I'll take my guitar with me, and I'll be the travel. I used to be a traveling troubadour. So, Millie Cow, I guess we kind of sort of have that in common as much as I know about you. But so I used to take my guitar with me everywhere I went. And, if I had an opportunity to play, and sometimes I just made opportunities to play. I'd be sitting on the tailgate of my truck in the parking lot, and people come up and listen, and I'd just be sitting there playing for myself, and so depending on who we are, if we get the opportunity to experience something, as long as I have gone along with some things that ended up being a little shadier than I'd hoped for, and it's like, well, but I went along for the experience, and then it was like, yeah, I went along one time to a dive out in the swamp near Homerville, Georgia, and got there, and there was this redneck beating on his girlfriend. I mean, he was smacking the shit out of her. And I happened to go, hey, buddy, wait a minute. And next thing I know, I was being beat on. And the folks that had took me there would drug me out in the swamp in the middle of the night. And I was tripping on mushrooms, So that was a trippy night. And how I got back to the carnival lot where, because I was on the carnival at the time, um, it started with face to face encounters for me. Then it was mental psychosis, but I always knew what reality was and didn't go there. The most recent lesson was seeing someone else in psychosis, possessed in this case. Oh, when they threw me in the nut house for 3 days, Baker acted me, and I thought I was crazy. And then I saw people who were really crazy and who absolutely, if they weren't possessed, they damn sure seemed like they were possessed. And in my mental fragility at the time, I could see that there was this one guy. I still can't see him clearly, but I remember this one guy that sat on the bench beside me. They didn't have chairs or anything, they had benches that you could sit on. No backs, just benches. And you could sit on the floor, you could sit on the bench, but that was it. You know, hard surface, And so, but this one guy sat on the bench and then he'd scoot over a little closer. And I'd look over and he'd scoot over a little closer and I'd look over. And I remember it was on my right side, interestingly enough. That's that's interesting. I kind of feel back where, so I wonder if he's still in there. That was a bunch of years back, but no, they closed that. But anyway, so he's like, "Do you think I should be here?" And his eyes were like, "Do you think I should be in here?" And I look at him, I'm like, "I don't know. Do you think you should be in here?" "Yes, I feel I should be in here because I'm protected in here." And I looked at him and I said, "You feel protected?" He goes, "Yeah, when I go outside, they're all after me." And I looked at him and I went, "I think I kind of understand what you mean, but they're after me." And at the time, I was too ill witted to be able to help him out in that instance. But I realize now, had I, because this was sort of way before, it was my early start of my shaman journey. Okay. I was learning stuff and having to, they threw me in the nut house for 3 days so I could learn some more. That was a hell of a lesson. But in retrospect, it's like if I could have told that guy, do you have any, just ask him, do you have any faith? And I don't start off with the word Jesus because, like I said, it turns a lot of people off. A lot of people get freaked out. So, but I say, do you have any faith? And then they say, well, faith in what? So that's for them to answer next. So, in learning to be a shaman in training, if someone is in some type of spiritual peril, my job is to help them find their core faith. You've heard me talking about your core value. Who are you really? Well, I'm a scared rabbit. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a scared rabbit, we can work with that. Well, I'm frail and I'm skittish all the time, and we could work with that. Now, here's the deal. Do you want to keep being like that? No, I hate this. Well, then stop. But I don't know. Just tell yourself to stop. Let's start there. So there are starting places that are really simple. Bernicia, how are you? You were sort of on my mind this morning when they woke me up, because I know there are some of you late night folks out there, and it was like, I wonder who's calling, you know. But it's somebody I haven't heard from in a while. It's Millie Cow. So, but welcome all y'all and Miss Chloe and everybody. So, oh, and I just missed the 20 because I was still yakking. So, I should have made coffee. Was watching last night. You doing okay up yonder? I'm still traumatized enough that if I saw someone possessed, I would be scared. The fear isn't very emotional for me, it's physical. My body is very sensitive to adrenaline. Oh, I understand that. I really do. Um, I've been in some situations where it's like, get thee behind me, Satan. I mean, like, serious. That's one reason why I moved out of Tampa and some of those areas, because it's like, get thee behind me, Satan. And can't do it. Couldn't do it. I'm like, nope, nope. I could see things not, I don't see things like Pearl does, but I could look at someone and sometimes it looked like there was a shadow around them or in them, or there was a shimmer. If you looked at me in the eyes and we made eye contact, I could tell if you were a lost soul versus a demon possessed. Okay. Because there are some folks, every person I meet feels that everyone is out to get them, have done a lot of people wrong. It's guilt knowing they'll pay for being bogus to good people. Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like I'm literally scared of humans more than demons. That's an interesting comment. Now, oh, KCMO. That's right. I've been through KCMO on my way north into Iowa City or whatever, Sioux City. Sioux City, Sioux, Sioux City, Sioux. It's an old Western country song. Anyway, um, in fact, we had supper there, and there was a big tornado coming in that day. It was how you folks live in that area out there. Holy crap! Because we were considering going on into Kansas, and we had supper there, and was got outside of the restaurant and looked towards Kansas and said, "Oh hell no." Yeah, I used to love horror stories, but I don't get along with them much anymore. Now, you know, I, if it's a thriller but not a slasher, you know, if they come up sort of like, Psycho was, where you don't see what's going on, but she's standing there and there's a this, and then there's the shot, and then, but, people who want to see the slashing and bashing and blood going every, nah, mm-mm, sorry, don't want it. Zombie movies, had enough of them. In fact, I remember watching the original zombie movie, okay? And we were at the drive-in in Tampa about 1969 or 70. And it was the second movie. You always had the premiere, and then depending on if sometimes they'd have, on the weekends, they'd have two or three other movies. So they'd have an early movie and then, a pause for the cause. And then, there'd be a shift. There'd be latecomers that would come in just for the second and third movies. So, but anyway, on this particular weekend, it was the Night of the Living Dead in black and white. And we're watching long, sitting in the car, and, because there had not been a horror movie of that type up until then. The horror movies were Dracula and the Wolfman. And, there was it all, there was, of course, there was always some kind of devil something, but it usually had to do something with, it was the bride of Frankenstein or the bride's bride or whatever, the bride of Dracula and the seven sisters of Dracula. I was possessed with horror, ghosts, and occult movies as a child. I was training. Yep. Now, occult was different and it depended, but I still don't like the slasher stuff. It just, nope. And I think it's because in a previous life, I know that in the previous life, I was some kind of a knight and maybe a Templar, maybe. Not anything special, I don't believe, but I do remember having a big ass sword. And as I've talked about before, when I was in that play years ago, and we actually did real sword fighting with real swords. That's what I always called them. But that the trainer, who is the master swordsman down at FSU in Tallahassee, he was like, "Who taught you how to use a sword?" And I was like, "Instinct." And he said, "Have you ever done, sword fight before?" And I said, "Not in this lifetime." And he looked at me and went, "I get what you mean." But he accepted me. It was weird how this master swordsman just accepted me after I made that comment. But to the point, I think it's whatever it was on whatever crusade, or I've had some flashes of it, and but I did a lot of slashing, a lot of blood spurting, and I think I just had enough in a previous life, and I'd rather not repeat it. But I think there have been times when I've watched a movie or something, and like an old war movie, not necessarily Braveheart, but medieval conquering kind of shit, and whatever. And it just seems too real to me that I have wielded a sword before. I don't know when, but it was sort of in the medieval times in there somewhere, right? But anyway, so and I asked myself, and it was a weird thought. If you were a swordsman back in the day, then could you like hack or stab somebody like you may have done in a previous life? And I was like, God forbid, Rest well, Miss Pearl. You woke up so I could wake up, and we both had prayers to you, my dear. Sleep well. But anyway, it was like, well, why would you ask me if I could still stab or hack at somebody? And I'm like, I don't have a sword, but I do have a couple of, yard implements that could put a severe hurting on you, like this bush axe, which looks like a medieval, tool or something that the Vikings would make. And it's for hacking trees down and shit. You know, it works really well. I can chop a tree down this big around, just boom, but you know, it's like a samurai sword, man. And you know, got to keep them sharp, but with the right angle, with a good swing, I can, you know. So if somebody had an arm or a leg that was in the way, and I put a swing on you, it's gonna hurt. If it don't chop it off, it's going to go all the way to the bone, at least, you know, because, you know, chop trees down this big around with one swap. So, not that I want to, I don't want to, but so, but asking the spirit world, like, why are you asking me that? I have no intentions of wanting to swing an apparatus like that. And then, sort of, the comeback is that, well, you used to. So this old feeling has welled up in me over these last few years. It's, I don't know whether or not it's sort of like the Akashic records coming back in real time, like they're trying to remind you, is like, well, could you hack somebody today? And I'm like, no. I mean, if zombies were coming after me or something, or you know, there was somebody coming at, you know, if it's the end of the world and somebody's coming after me with a spear, I'm gonna hack. I'm sorry. I'm gonna hack at them. You know, go ahead. Come on a little closer. I'll show you how I can use this thing. You know, I used to hack paths through thick, dense woods with these things. You know, whack, 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 whack. Come on. You know, now I'm old, but I'm still got some gumption in me. So, but no, I'm no. So my answer's been to the universe. No, I don't want to do that. But you used to. Really? You used to. Hmm. So then, for you know, being on the spiritual journey kind of thing, or wanting to understand, you know, your Akashic record, or just plain, well, where in the hell did that come from? You know, so I've had those kind of visits, if you will, with flashbacks of something from being in another era. When, you know, like, what the hell? Why are you asking me if I could hack somebody up? You know, well, remember when you did the sword fight? Yeah. Well, remember that? Remember when you was asking where you learned that? Yeah. Well, you used to hack people up with, oh, I actually hadn't thought about that. So if I had learned how to use a sword, and apparently pretty damn well, because for the sword master to see it, my natural talent kind of thing, I was like, well, wait a minute. So if I knew how to use a sword real well, now that might have meant if I knew how to do it so well, I didn't get killed. But if I was a good swordsman, then it meant that I must have killed some other folk, you know? So now one of the interesting things is the the no. Well, let's go back with the Lee clan. The Lee clan, which my father's name, who just recently died, by the way, at 87. Um, so I got a shot, you know, to go to 87. So, but Cicero Lee, and I've checked down the line, and I talked about this before, and I don't want to make it an issue, but the issue is that my family tree, which should have been Lee instead of Noel, except in this area, you know, it should go with the mother. But anyway, so with the mother, it would have been on the Noel side. Well, the Noel side then went sort of this way, but there's supposed to be a family crest in the Tower of London or something. And there's supposed to be Noel, and it might be Koin or something like that, but it's a porcupine. And supposedly, old time through the whatever, there was a family member who had worked with King Arthur, King Richard, you know. And so it's like, okay, so that was the research done on the Null side. On the Lee side, it was the Lees came in across from originated in France and went to battle with King Richard, which is interesting. So if the Knowles clan were there to help him out at the round table, and there's a supposed to be a crest there, and then the Lees came over. Now there is a long history of the Lees because it was written down. So the Lees came over to England, helped Richard out, got some land, and became landed gentry, as they call them. So that later on, there was one of the guys uh, um, went across the ocean and became a trader and almost a traitor, and which was the grandfather of Robert E. Lee. And then this one led to that one. And anyway, so Robert E. Lee was descended of folks from France, and there is a direct lineage, right? So, having looks like that I'm descended from that, then too am descended from France. So, but in that long lineage, that somewhere along the line was I at some point, since there are two places in my family history that I could have that a family, an ancient family member would have uh, worked for Richard, right? The Round Table. And so was I a reincarnation through that bloodline is where I'm headed with that. So, but I just could have been a knight in shining armor in some other play, you know. But it feels like that there was this one movie I was watching, and it was almost like I got sucked out of my body into the movie. And I was like going up the rampart and looking over the side, and I was like, what the fudge just happened? And I had my sword, and we're looking at whoever it was looked back at me, and we were nodding, and I was going up the thing, and I was dressed as a Knights Templar. Well, dressed. I was had the Red Cross on me, but there were a lot of crusaders, so I was at least a crusader. All right, maybe not necessarily, you know. Um, I'm a descendant of Sir Foster that saved King Richard from an ambush on a forest trail. See, Barry wants to say my drop of blood somewhere all them years ago, and maybe we our incarnations have met after all these eons. Maybe my being a Lee or a no, I would think more of a Lee at the moment, because there's really a lot of proof, versus the Knowles are like, yeah, it's really sketchy. But the Lee side, there's proof. So written down proof, in the logbooks, this guy did this thing and this one did this and he got land and then he became a this and then he came to the United States, well, the colonies. But to the point, there's a footprint and there's a trail, paper trail. So but wouldn't that be interesting if our collective incarnations were, you were that Foster and I was whatever Lee, and we were Knights of the Shining Armor. Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be a freaking coincidence of the ages? And like with Miss Pearl in this, when we meet each other, and after all these years of, I know I got a a YouTube channel, and I love you all, but yeah, how did you bump into me? You know what I mean? Well, I just saw your thing or somebody talked about you. Okay, but to my point though, still, how did we bump into each other? So it's been my um, pleasure, although sometimes a little annoying, I spent many years torn between a mental space of 50% heaven and 50% hell, sometimes more, sometimes less, but always both. It was so strange at first. There was one simple thing I hadn't discovered. The mind is a receiver. We just hear things all day. Most thoughts aren't our thoughts. A lot of times, that's right. Then we can choose to accept or reject the thoughts that come in. Absolutely. That changed everything. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're on the right track. And here's the thing, and I don't know if you were around when I talked about this before, but the subconscious hears freaking everything. Everything. Whether we like it or not, it hears everything. And the more we're closer to people, especially certain people, or, you know, um, those certain people could, be putting out good vibes, or then there are those certain people where you just want to stay away, you know? And there's actually a distance that it's like, well, that's not quite far enough. And you back up a little further and you sort of get out of their perimeter of evilness, or at least bad weirdness kind of feeling. So by my because I still go to town, I still go to other places, and it's interesting, I have, gone around the corner in a store and go, hi, thank you. And sometimes there's a big smile, and sometimes there's a growl. Now, thank God I have chosen to live down here in South Georgia, and there there are fewer growls than when I was living in other places and were to other places that I've been. So I'm very fortunate that I'm still here. And I'm sorry that people have to live in other places where there are other types of people. You know what I mean? But the thing is that you have to be sort of, yeah, there are times when you have to be the ball in the what is it, pinball. So emotionally, I wasn't. We tried so hard to make it work, and for years we were doing good. We both had issues we weren't aware of, and our weaknesses were hilariously opposed to each other, like identical. Yeah, I found, for me, I always wanted to have a relationship. I tried so many times, got married several times, tried a couple of times without the marriage thing, which I think the total is 7. Um, and it's like no matter how hard I wanted it to work, the universe just said, sorry. And so, one of the things that I had to accept in my journey is that I was spending so much time trying to find that special mate. I'm still searching for my soulmate. And one day, you know, I was like, gosh, I'm looking for my soulmate. And they were like, Dave, Hawkeye, yes, pick up the phone. What? And I'm like, pick up the phone. Okay. All right. What y'all want? You're not getting one. So deal with it. What? Yeah, we want you to hear it from the boss. you know. What? So from that point on, that's a little over dramatic, but not really. It was like you have spent so much time looking for when if you understood about the whatever, if I understood more and had faith in in the universe, then if there was a soul mate for me, then I just had to radiate, you know, wherever you are, come on in, kind of thing. And if there's one out there, and if they was listening, and if they was available too, that you know, that you all would meet. So, you know, it's been 10 years, 15, almost 15 since a relationship. So it's like, ain't nothing on the radar, ain't looking, you know. Now that's not to say that I still couldn't bump into someone, but I'm, you know, so the energy that I was expending trying to make some women go, oh, there's one, you know, hey, you want to try to make, no, okay. Hey, what about you? Well, you know, not really, no, okay. Hey, you know, I'm single, you know, I'm getting old, but I'm still here and had a decent relationship with a woman, but our respective, um, unfortunately, our respective, physical ailments, mostly hers, and insurance and such, and distance, it just did not work. And but in a big way, I still love her. You know, it was not by our real choices; it was external things that kept us from really trying to be with each other. So, and that was just shit happens. And that's been the last relationship I've been in. But with after that, I was like, I'm crying and moaning, and I'm like, man, you know, because we really connected, you know. And so it's like, so what the fudge is up with this? And they were like, you know, this part of your journey has you got to walk it alone. And I was like, but I'm supposed to be sitting on the back porch, you know, with my honey, and we're supposed to be drinking tea or coffee or whatever, smoking one and watching the sun go down. Sorry, dude. You made up. That's when I realized that was in my made up reality, right? That's what I really wanted. So that's what I foresaw. And that's what I just knew was going to happen. I'll be 72 here in September and ain't happened. Again, it doesn't mean that it won't, but it ain't. So I'm good with that. But that's the thing. So there are some things in life that people expect or they desire, or but all I want is a decent relationship with a woman, you know. I want to sit on the porch, I want to, you know, share these things, I want to go camping and boating and whatever, exploring and go on adventure, but never mind, you know. So it's like, all right, it's okay. But so for their answer to me was sometimes the lessons that you have to learn. And one of them was because I always needed to have a woman. I can't do this. I must have a mate, and I must, and I must, and I must. And they were like, no, you don't must. Yeah, but, and you searched all your freaking life and you spent all this time going left and right. Oh, but there's one, you know. Come on, we can try this. And you no. Well, come on. Hey, what about you? No. Well, you know, I really like her. Let's wonder if I could, you know, figure her around. And no. Well, shit. So, but to that point, though, for me, the lesson is there's a lot of things that you I can actually have. I don't ask for much, so you know. Um, but so those simple things that I quote might desire, I'm working tomorrow. Here in a few hours, I go to pain management. We'll see how that works out. But after a year and a half, I'm still having severe back pain. Um, but my canoe's outside full of water, and my bass boat's around over on the corner, and the river's up. And if the weather is not too rainy, I don't mind the rain, but it's the lightning, you know. And there's been some lightning strikes that have, I just don't want to be on a boat out on the open in the water. I'm just not as brave as I used to be. Before I go, nah, don't worry about it. Now I'm like, nah, maybe we should stay. I'm a chicken shit, right? But anyway, so what does all this mean? What I'm talking about, all this and my love life and whatever. It means that, for as much as I thought this incident in my made up reality that it was going to be this away, didn't know who it was. Oh, why she might be the one. I mean, literally, I'd be like, oh, what about her? And it was like, it was the amount of energy that I spent in that useless looking to where I don't, they sort of told me that, if you had got your shit together back then, instead of wasting my time, go to a bar, go to a thing, go to a do. How am I going to meet a girl? I tried dating apps, which is where I met my last one. And like I said, if it hadn't have been for, our physical issues and distance, we might have actually made it work in another time and place, which is sort of how we left it. In another time and place, it would have worked for us, but not for me and not this time around. So it's like, and oh, boo hoo, I spent this time and yeah, it was a good run, but she ain't the one either. Nope. So what am I going to do now? And you're going to learn how to stand up on your own two dog feet. Dave, you're going to stand up on your own 2 feet and get your shit together. But, oh, shut up. Stand up on your own 2 feet. And I realized that because I had had separation anxiety with my mother when I was 3, and well, they took me away earlier than that. I was in 6 foster homes in 3 years. So that's like every 4 or 5 months I was swapped out. So, but when my uncle Arnie finally got me, all I could do was cry all the time. So whatever had happened in my first 3 years was traumatic as shit for me. And one of the things that I learned through a very good therapist was that um, adoptees who have been, taken from their birth mothers for whatever reason, uh, have a separation anxiety. And so when I when she gave me this book and I read about it and I was like, there are millions of people who have this separation anxiety and they don't know why. So when I read the book and I still kind of sort of learning it, but in that I was so looking not necessarily for a mother figure, but I was still looking for the essence of my mother because of the separation, right? And it's like, what? And, since I'm kind of goofy psychic, not sometimes psychic, but um, just me, I'm just open to stuff. I'm just um, aware, I guess. And sometimes I have seen things. I have felt things. I've absolutely heard things, and experienced things. So, but even as a child, all the way till now. So came out of the womb that way. So when they took me away from her, and here's the thing, that she kept trying to get me. So every 3 or 4 months, I get to get to see her, spend some time with her, and get that connection back, and then boom, gone again. And then 6 months later, boom, spend some time, and then boom. So after 3 years, I finally ended up getting adopted by my uncle Arnie. So, but I still had the separation anxiety. And because it had happened with me over 6 times, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, that exasperated by 6 times my own personal um, um, separation anxiety. So, but when I identified it and saw it for what it was, and heard that there are millions of other people who were, separated and adopted out, and, Uncle Arnie was good, and all things fair, he was pretty damn good through all the years, and we made up when he was older and I was there when he passed away. We unplugged him, and about his pictures on the wall, and I still respect him after all this time. So, more so than Mama Irani. Of course, Mama's pictures up there, but anyway, she had to adopt me out because she was so young and could not keep me. And then my sister came along, and then we found out later on that my brother came along that nobody knew about. We was like, holy crap. But to the point though, for me, and it was the 6 times around that amplified my separation anxiety. But as soon as I could identify those feelings, but what it meant was that I was looking for that woman that would not necessarily take the place of my mother, but that would have the essence of motherhood. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, looking for a mother figure. But I realized it was more than that. And so what was more than the essence of a mother? So it wasn't just a woman; she had to have a motherly instinct. So it's like, oh, so you've had 2 or 3 kids. Yep. You've got that motherly instinct. Yep. And so it's like so drawn to that. She must be the one. It was because of the motherly instinct kind of thing. And so when I realized what I was doing, and my being my last big lesson in relationships, I guess, maybe, since I've not had one since, but that it was that maybe you can't have a relationship because what you're looking for is the wrong thing. You're looking for the essence of mother. Oh, is it? Holy crap, it's been another hour. Son of a gun. Yeah, it has an hour and 53 minutes. Okay. But so anyway, so for those people out there, in order to find your God or have a talk with Jesus, all you got to do is just do it. Gonna have a little talk with Jesus. Gonna tell him all about my problems. And then, so one of the things is that, for me, and being the shaman in training and understanding that's a spiritual path for me and other people. So there are those folks who have been married for 30 years. I got friends of mine who've been married for 50 years, and they still have bumpy issues, but they're still together. So it's like, I've always wished for that, but never mind. It's for somebody else. So rather than worry about, well, how come I can't have it? Well, I'm too old now to get 50 years in. But what I am going to do is be proud for my friends who have been married for 50 years, so it's like, so I will celebrate for them. You know what I mean? So whether I might not be celebrating for myself, oh well. But the lessons for each of us, sometimes it ain't made for us. So my dear friends, 50 years, it was made for them. I wanted to be married with someone and didn't work. So sometimes you meet who you're supposed to be with, and sometimes you don't. So and hey, what? Now there's some more mods here. You guys keep track of the next card read. What? This is what I'm going to say, Millie Cow, about the studying about Jesus. If you're going to read about Jesus and you're going to choose a Bible, and if you do it online, go read the old versions of the Bible. Do not read, um, do not read the King James Version in any way, shape, or form, because King James messed with the damn thing. That's why it's his version, because he wanted to get a divorce, and King James had a floozy boyfriend from France that he would go over, and they would go back and forth across the channel and have dalliances. So he wanted a divorce, and the Pope wouldn't let him. And so he said, screw you, and rewrote the Bible in his name and glory. And because there's all these these and thys and thous that ain't in the Douay Reams version. So read the version before King James, where he got his from. And there are folks who are saying you should read the Greek version, find an old Greek interpretation, because it will give you a more accurate account. Because some of the Gospels don't say the same things. Oh, it surely is, by about 2 or 3 minutes, right? What are you talking about? Cards? I got to relax when you pull cards now. What? Are you freaking out, Barry? Actually, I was thinking about doing a card reading night. And earlier this evening, I was watching some stuff, and I just didn't feel like I had the energy. Hey, Whiteout, what you doing? Good to see you. I might study that side by side someday. The old Catholic version was the Douay Reams, and I had a Catholic version Bible for years, and then I started reference before the internet come out and you could see the different types online. But go to the oldest versions. Do not read this new shit. Okay. If you're going to do it, go back to the original and read that. These new folks, and God talked to me and they changed the Bible, and no, go back to the oldest version. And one that I can quote is the Douay Reams. Rhymes, almost like rhymes. But go to the older versions and read there. Don't read. Well, that was rude. It's a 20. What I would like to, what I was going to say was, don't ever read anything from the Catholic Church, or don't, that's just rude. If you read something about Jesus and it's a religious publication, be aware that they want to convert you. Okay. Now, it may be okay that you want to be converted. All right. Don't get me wrong. Some people need churches, some people need religion for that lifeboat feeling. Well, but I've had a conversation. Do you feel like you have Jesus in your heart? Well, yeah. Well, then, okay. Do you have that feeling every day? Well, yeah. Well, then, but on church, I feel like I have to go. Well, why? Well, because they told me to, you know. Well, I want to go to church and pray. Well, can't you? We're sitting here sort of praying right now, ain't we? Well, yeah, but Jesus, and Jesus is with the church, and Jesus, and then they get all wrapped up about the religion. So what the Mother Mary showed me years ago was, Dave, before I got Hawkeye, I was learning about Hawkeye, but she goes, Dave, you gotta show them that we're here all the time without having to go to religion. That Mother Mary is an entity. You don't have to go to church to pray to her. That if you have the rosary and can play the rosary, she told me that for folks, but there are not many folks that know how to pray with the rosary. So it's like um but so but the idea though that if you believe in Mother Mary, then believe that she's available, that her essence is in the ether, just like the Jesus, just like God, just like the Holy Spirit. It just like you and me, we're all a part of the ether, we're all a part of the quantum. So when you learn to accept that basic fact, and that which I was talking about last night, and it's an odd way I was trying to figure out another way to put it, and I was thinking about it earlier today, and still right now my answer is still this: having nothing to do with any outside sources, but when you find your connection to Jesus, when you can find your connection with the Holy Spirit, and you find out the sort of the same thing, and then when you find out that you're a part of the quantum and you have faith, and Chloe, what's the deal? You have to believe, 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 and do and believe. Don't just say you do, believe it. And there have been times, well, I don't know. So one of my issues that I was having trouble to get over this one hump in my spiritual journey, and they were like, Dave, Hawkeye, you don't really believe, do you? And I was like, yes, I do. I swear I do. And they were like, no, you don't. And I said, yeah, yes, I do. Yeah. And there was this little bitty tiny, like a 0.5%, that was holding out. 99 and 9/10% I believed. But for some reason, there was this little bit of fear. Yeah, let's go to Alaska together, Barry. There was some kind of little bit of fear that held me back to that 100% mark. And years ago, I've talked about you have to you have to believe 101%. You got to believe a little bit more than that. And some, because people are, well, I believe, but there's something in there that keeps them from really truly understanding. So when I was the training was, but you're, and I'm before I got on the internet, I had been talking with people in spiritual ways with other people around campfires and whatever's. But I said, we're all a part of this cosmic goo. And then later on, they started talking about the quantum and the quantum field, and that, oh, wait a minute, the essence is all around. We're all a part of the quantum field. Oh, well, wait, that's the cosmic goo I was talking about 30 years ago, before the internet and before the cosmic goo. Oh, that's the quantum. So I was aware of the quantum cosmic goo long time ago in my spiritual journey, right? Didn't I just called it cosmic goo. And so we're all connected in this cosmic goo. True. But in the quantum, though, that's why they're trying to develop these quantum engines, because there is no time lag. So for some reason, I got woke up this morning. Who shows up? Barry's up. All you other folks, Chloe's up. Uh, Miss Pearl woke up and chimed in. I mean, all of a sudden, they woke me up and said, "Here," and Millie Cow's here, and could have used a little bit of, encouragement. So we're on your side, Millie Cow. And when you listen to the universe and you pay attention, I am still learning, but that, like this morning it was 2 o'clock my time, and they're like, get up, do a video. And I'm like, it's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, do it. But see, reluctantly, I'm like, okay. But before it's like, are you serious? You want me to do a video at this time of the, yep. So I realized that, yes, I volunteered for this. And yes, so if I am committed to it, then yes, I will get up in the middle of the night and do a live stream, because somebody out there might need a prayer. Somebody out there might need some encouragement. Somebody, because I was in the middle of the night before where I was having panic attacks and, wanted to kill myself. So, and I was thinking about this earlier about the gender change and the people, how they are dead named, that their original, their given names are dropped because now the boy becomes the girl. And so it's like, okay. So, or the girl becomes the boy. Paige, what's her name? I don't think she wants to be called Paige anymore. This synchronicity could be seen as an answer to my prayers. It is supposed to be an answer to your prayers, Millie Cow. Yeah, my folks are going, of course. Like, duh. That's what they said. Duh. But yeah, otherwise I'd still be sleeping. Hey. But it's and salmon say, oh, halibut and salmon. Ooh. I think synchronicities are designed to prompt us to stay faithful. Now, when you use the word faithful in that sentence, who you being faithful to? Because the faith is within us. Do you have faith in yourself? Because if you have faith in yourself 100.1%, that little bit extra over the line, you know, when you're filling up your coffee cup, you got to leave a little thing, but sometimes you bump it just a little bit. And then you have to sip it before you walk around the room, right? So it's that kind of thing. But the faith, the reminder, they're reminders. How's your faith doing? Do you still have 100.1% faith? Hey, Dave, what? How's your faith doing? Ding, 100.1. All righty then. So, and all things result from that. Because if I have the faith, then I understand that I'm part of the universe. I understand I'm part of the quantum. At 2 a.m, I'll get a phone call and do a live stream and chat with y'all. And maybe somebody else needs this video at some point in the future, who knows? But right now, it's important, and that's where the synchronicities are. So, do I believe in the synchronicities? Yeah, because I wouldn't be here, right? You know. And am I listening? Yes. It's because I have faith. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time, you know, but I got faith. And I got faith that if, you know, like we're having a conversation, I don't know where this conversation is going to lead, but obviously, you know, we need to have a conversation wherever it is and however it goes, you know. But so the thing about Jesus, so Jesus is an entity, is still an entity. All right, in the Charistus sort of group, through reincarnation. All right, and Jesus has already come back to this planet. Just folks ain't noted yet. So, but here's the deal. So, your acceptance of Jesus is the Christ consciousness, where it's the law of one. Do no harm to anything. Anything. And if you can abide by that, I know David Wilcox talks about the law of one, and sometimes it's like, oh God, I don't really want to be attached to him. Not that everything that he says is all bad, but he gone off with some of this space alien kind of stuff that just, you know, he should have stuck with just having conversations about Edgar Cayce. But Edgar talked about things, but the law of one is very simple, and you don't need a religion. And space aliens and whomever, and I'm not sure where I heard the law of one first, but it's been a long time ago. So if you follow that simple things, that you just don't do any harm to anything. So in the Native American traditions, for example, if you know, if here's the difference between a lay person and a shaman. All right, here's an easy example. The folks, you know, they're two folks, shaman in training and just a person, and they are sent out by the chief or somebody. Maybe it's you know, the mother of the tribe or something, you know, and she said, "I need some herbs. Go pick me some herbs." And I need colt's foot, for example. So person A, just the person, finds some colt's foot and starts picking. Now person B, the shaman in training, Olivia, you are on my mind too. That's why I'm here in the middle of the night. You're also part of the prayer. When my feet hit the floor, it was like bing. And that was 2 hours and 15 minutes ago. So, but anyway, I hope you're doing well and many prayers to you. So the difference between person A picks the colt's foot, right? Puts it in the basket. Nothing wrong, but the shaman and training person finds some colt's foot and bends over and says a prayer over the plant before they pick it. To the creator, I thank you, dear plant. I wish to pick you to use you as medicine, and I thank you for your service and for what you're going to do, and gently lifts it out of the ground or picks a leaf or whatever. Goes to the next plant, does the same thing. So, what's the difference between the two medicines? They're both colt's foot. They're both been picked with respect. Now, the other person that picked it was respectful, but still just kind of yanked it out of the ground. Where the shaman in training, lifted it out of the ground and said a prayer before it was asked it if it would come, asked if it would allow itself to be picked to be used as a medicine. So this is the prayer, right? So when you learn that everything is sacred. So you say, well, there's a tree over there. Well, no, the natives, if they had to cut a tree down, they would go pray to each of the trees and apologize to the trees if they had to cut them down. So where white men just go chopping shit down, right? And other people, so the difference, because I've known several medicine men over the years, herbalist. And I asked my friend Dale Betcher, I've talked about him before. And I'm like, Dale, some people make, salves and things. And having known him and having, he and I, helped work on a log cabin at one time down here. I've gone to North Georgia and helped him move and done these things. And we've sat on the mountain and prayed together and, meditated together. And so it's like, Dale, how come your salve is really so special? And he said, well, I pray over my plants before I start stirring it in. And he said, I guess sort of like a witch's cauldron, in that you just ask the creator to bless your mixture as you mix it. And you pray, just ask the creator, no special spells or anything, mind you. But that's his energy, his pure intent, right? That he picked those plants with care. He picked them with the intent to make a super duper salve, which would cure damn near anything, and you could eat it. I mean, it wouldn't kill you if you got some, but I wouldn't, if you put a spoonful, probably wouldn't do nothing. Um, you could put it on any kind of wound or anything, and it would cure it in a day or two. I had bad sunburn, and I spread some of that salve on me, and within a couple of minutes, it went away. Makes sense that you just going and chopping down some random trees could be disrespectful. Yep. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I live on 18 acres and I've chopped some trees down. And I've got a couple over here that I need to chop down. And some of them are growing underneath the power line. I have to chop them down or somebody else is. And so, but when I chop them down, I do go into them. And, if there's a couple of small ones, I do apologize to them and say, because there's some of them, that come up that have been growing for a couple of years. And shame on me, I've been letting some of these oak trees grow up to get big enough around so I can make handles out of them because they're going to have to get cut down. So if I cut them down when they're little twigs, it's just scrap. If I wait until they get over my head, now they're this big around it, I can make handles out of them, like a rake handle or something like that. So, but now I got to, now they got to come down because their tops are hitting the power line. So, but I do I told you, I go over there and I go, I told you all not to grow here. And I'm sorry, but I must cut you down. So I will, I've gone over there and I've told them, I say, look, if y'all die, it'd be good, but I'm going to have to come back and cut you down. So I have done that to those trees over there. And so I am aware of the connection. And so if I know I have to cut them down because they're under the wire, right? And if the power company comes back here shortly, they're probably going to just mow them down and put them into a shredder and turn them into mulch, right? So it's like, but if I go over there and cut them down, then I can use them for handles or something else or walking sticks or something. They have a potential, but you just ground up as mulch, you know, very little potential there. So to the native folks, they're always looking at the potential. And also, if you pray to something and ask the creator and the spirits, to bless this stick or whatever, but so they would ask the spirits if they were making a bow or even arrows. They'd be making arrows and they'd say, I ask the spirits to bless this arrow, may fly true and straight, and maybe kill my enemies or whatever. But to the point. So there's back in the day there was a lot of prayers put into things that were simply sort of like musings. Well, you know what? For example, let's swap it over to the medieval times. Here's this crusader dude, right? He's sitting there sharpening his sword and he's going up and down on it, but he's just not paying attention. You know, he's just doing his thing. And then there's his buddy over there who's sitting there with his sword and a sharpening stone, and he's going, I'm sharpening this blade, and he's looking down the blade, and he's looking at how he's doing it, and he said, I'm sharpening this blade, and it's going to help me to slay my enemy, and it's going to, and so he's putting prayers into what he's doing. He's instructing the blade. He's putting intent into the blade. And so in life, in all things, that if you respect and honor the things around you, acknowledge that they're there. And so then now you're more aware and you go, wow, how did that happen? Wait a minute, has this been like this the whole time? Yeah, you know. And all you do have to do is accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. You repeat that. You say, I accept the knowledge, the healing, and the blessings and the wisdom from the universe, from the Creator. And believe it. Believe it, believe it, believe it. Well, I don't know, but it does exist. So if you can check off all these things, do you believe that um, that there are spirits in the universe? Well, okay. Do you believe that the universe is connected, synchronicity and stuff? Yeah, okay. So do you believe in that you have a spirit power or a spirit within you, a soul? Yeah, yeah, okay. And you believe in you've met if you've answered these questions, then you've met all the really, really important and basic criteria. So the only thing that's holding you back is your own acceptance. If anything's holding you back, it's that you might only believe, but there's a little bit of doubt. So, but if you say, look, I've looked around everywhere, everything else seems a little flighty, but I do believe these basic things. I don't have to join a club. But when you do believe these things, you do become a member automatically of the League of Like-Minded Beings. Dun, da, da, da. But you didn't have to sign anything, and there is no dues. But the thing is that when you become aware of those things, those basic things, you have just reached the club, the League of Like-Minded Beings. What the hell? But it's true, because we can all have this synchronicity. Why did Miss Pearl wake up this morning and somehow know that I was doing a YouTube video? How come Barry's here this morning? I mean, come on. How come you're here, right? But not necessarily pointing my finger at you, Millie Cow, but I mean you in particular, or not in particular. Never mind. Anyway. So, but when folks accept that, and it ain't hard because it's accepting the physical things that actually exist in science. It's not some kind of mystical poo. It's actually the cosmic goo. Oh my God, that rhymed. Your spiritual perspective is refreshing. Good, because here's the thing, you're already spiritual. You ain't got to do nothing except understand that you got it. And if you, for a lot of folks, you know, for me too, and I was looking for it, right? And so I think you said you was looking to it too, for it too, right? So you're on a spiritual journey and a wandering around and a troubadour and stuff. That's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is though there are people that I've met over my many 72 years, and the people who went to church, who were Christians, never really impressed me. Oh, they read their Bible and they talk about Jesus, and they talk about me, you know, and Daniel in the lion's den, and it's like, yeah, okay. But they're so involved in reading the Bible that they ain't listening, they're paying attention. Because one of the things they miss really big time, and I've said this often, and they say it too, Jesus died for our sins. Okay. Think about it. Jesus died for our sins. All right. Then so when the Christian says, are you saved in the name of Jesus? Wait a minute. I think you just said that Jesus died for my sins. Yes. But then how do I get saved in the name of Jesus if I'm already saved in the name of Jesus? Well, but you got to be, you know, have to be baptized in the blood of Jesus. Well, hang on. Wait. Back that bus up. You just told me that Jesus died for my sins. Then therefore I don't have any. Well, you must confess your sins. Well, now to the point, you know, I hadn't killed anybody, and I hadn't really beat up anybody. I had done a little thievery at times, I had been little, you know, I worked on a carnival, crying out loud, but I tried to be a good carny, you know. So there were times when I would go, when I was in the Catholic Church, that I would make up stuff because I hadn't done anything wrong. So, oh, Jesus have blessed me, Father, for I've sinned. I have, I don't kicked the cat. I have sinned. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I slapped my sister, Oh, God forbid. Well, my son, say 3 Hail Marys and an Our Father, and, don't do it again, okay. So, but spiritually speaking, though, so if you understand Jesus died for our sins, then we're already saved. So we have to accept that. Now, by accepting that, so then if you accept that he saved you and that you are saved, then that means then you're going to have to be a good person. Because if you ascribe to Jesus, did all kinds of good stuff, talked to all these people in parables and things, and tried to teach them Jews a thing or two back in the day. And when Jesus disappeared, this is my a Dominican nun from Tampa Catholic told me this in 1970, that when Jesus disappeared and he came back, that he went and studied in India and in China and learned those Western languages too, but they're like Hinduism and Buddhism and so Sister Helene told me in 1970, because I wanted to join the priesthood, and she said, "Oh no, don't do that." She looked at me and she said, "Become a Buddhist," because that's what Jesus was a Buddhist. So if you want to learn about what Jesus was, where he got some of his really sure enough deep down what they call Christian beliefs are actually Buddhist beliefs of being with nature and working with the, etc. So if you want to learn about Jesus, I would also suggest that you'll just skim around what the Buddhists believe and not about the gods and the this and the that, and more about, their belief with the harmony with the planet and with the world and with each other. That's where you need to go. But so anyway, but still the belief in Jesus, the Christ who died on the cross, was an incarnation, a reincarnation of a previous spirit that wasn't named Jesus before. But so the Jesus incarnation spirit has reincarnated many times since that time. Because when you hear life everlasting, our everlasting life comes in being reincarnated, which is a Buddhist and a Hindu kind of thought. But in reality, that's where does our Akashic record come from? Why do we have a record? Well, it's because we've done things before. We have been involved with things before. So if you believe that, if you believe you've always been a part of the universe, and you look out and look up and think how vast the universe is, there's a lot of room to roam around. It just ain't in heaven, because the Christians want to put heaven in a box. So the bigger picture, which science is that the universe is connected with electrical and magnetic fields. We are electrical beings. Every time I go for a heart monitor, they're always picking up electrical impulses, right? They do the head thing, that's electrical impulses on your head. So we are electrical, and which means we are a part of this electric universe. We are a part of the quantum. Our spirit is a part of the quantum. I was listening and talked to some people with near death experiences, NDEs, and they all experience floating and seeing and looking like astral bodies. And it's like, whoa, dude, and then you get slammed back into your body. But it's like those journeys. So when we are, when we die in this life, we're going to be, we already a part of the quantum, but then we just are freed from this, but we still exist. So off we go in a journey through the universe. So when people are, people get, oh, you won't be able to go to heaven. You're going to go to heaven. Trust me. When you die, your spirit's going to go, you know. Now, there are some folks that would trap themselves here, but most folks get to go. Oh, well, you're going to get trapped by this, or you're going to get, don't look at the light when you go. Well, the many times that I've been hanging out right along that NDE and have talking with other folks, they don't see a light. They become the light. When I had mine last year, it was like, what's going on here? And I was like and it wasn't a room, but everything was white, and I was like, whoa, this is interesting. It was really cool. But it just everything was white. And I was at peace, and I was like, wow, I wonder where this goes. And it's boom, back in the body, you know, from the collective conscious. Wait, is it possible that Jesus people see in visions is a what? Are you trying to say allegory from the collective consciousness? There is a Jesus essence, and it only takes one atom to like feel it, or a proton, or a, just, or the energy from an atom, Um, but the Jesus figure happened in our timeline, in on Earth's timeline. So did Jesus really exist on Earth? Yes. Does his spirit still exist in the universe? Yes. Just like my energy is a reincarnation from like the sword fighting thing. You know, there've been a couple of other things that I just know how to do them, like canoeing and be on the river and stuff like that. I think I was a pioneer. Maybe I was on the Lewis and Clark expedition. Who knows? But I have been canoeing and out in the woods and stuff for, I was a pioneer in a previous life. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, look at me, with how I live and everything. But with that said, though, but you don't have to, everybody was not King Henry, you know what I mean? Or one of his 40 wives, or concubines, or anyway. But the idea that we absolutely are reincarnated beings, we just are, and some of us have reincarnated on this planet many times. I'll get sleepy. Oh, it's almost 5 o'clock, almost 6 o'clock. Oh crap, the sun's gonna be coming up. Um, and I cannot miss this doctor's appointment this afternoon. It's at 1:15, but I got to be there early. So some of the star seeds, star children, whatever, are supposedly um, from literally other stars. Okay, their reincarnation, their spirits have been floating around somewhere else, and they chose Earth this time around to be reincarnated to help the Earth to ascend, to help the spirits and the people on this planet to lift up their, to believe in the simple things. You don't have to have a religion. That's period. To still believe in the Creator and to still believe in the Christ, to still believe in Jesus. You don't need a church. You don't need a Bible. Now you can read it. That's a fun read, but folks spend more time reading it instead of paying attention to what's all around them. Now you can read the Bible and it will give you inspiration, and that's good. But if you're reading the Bible, just go, well, I got to read the Bible. Why? Well, because, to be a good Christian, I got to read my Bible. But are you getting anything out of it? Are you reading it just because you're told to? Or because you need to? Or because, what's your intent? So, as a Catholic, we were forced to read the Bible. I don't want to, and you read the Bible. So, but then later on, it's like you seek the Bible to read it because you want to, or because the Spirit fills you, because there may be some kind of message there for you. Then read it. So for me, it's like I got a Bible right. Well, actually, it's over there. It was getting wet when the roof leaked. But I got a really old Bible. It's a King James version, but it's a really old Bible. That's a little, not necessarily a pocket Bible, but it was a lady musician who used to travel around, and she passed away. They sold all her stuff from the house, and I have this big steamer trunk. And she used to travel all around, and I found this Bible that was hers in that steamer trunk. So now it sits over here, and when I need a Bible, I pull her Bible out and read from it. So, but there's something ancient in it, and she was said to be a very holy person, and single but very holy person. She taught music in Megs and was very well respected and everything. And I ended up getting her Bible. So I can't remember her name, but and I don't know if I have seen a picture of her or who she was, but the house is still there in Megs. It's a small little town in Dumpy now, but um, at one time, Megs was really nice and cleaned up streets and people and stuff, and it's really changed now. A lot of Mexicans and mostly blacks and Mexicans and white people moved out because they were chased out. That's a shame. But that's reality. But so anyway, but so, when I feel the need to read the Bible, then it's sort of like through her spirit, through that her Bible, I'm reading for her, with her, but reading myself. That's weird. But that's how my spirit. That's how my spirit thought is. Well, let me get her Bible out, even though I can't remember her name, and even though I didn't meet her, and even though but I've got her Bible. So it's always let me get her Bible out to read from it. So I'm praying with her still. Her essence is still kind of tied to that Bible. So I'm praying, I'm looking, and I'm reading the Bible. So I'm reading with my essence and hers. Does that make sense? So in the quantum reality, this is the reality. I'm praying with her Bible, therefore I'm praying with her. Wow. And Jesus still exists. The Christ consciousness is very basic. Follow the law of one. Because in the Buddhist traditions and things, it's not everything is sacred. So if everything is sacred, then you don't want to harm anything. If you understand everything is sacred, that basic thing, and you believe it, believe it, believe it, believe it, believe it. All things are sacred, and all things are part of the quantum, which makes them sacred, and which also makes them spiritual. So if you believe it because it is just physically fact, then you're there. You're there. So all of the God and everything is the quantum. God is the source. God is the creator. God is all the consciousness in the universe that's around in the quantum. God is the quantum. Does that make sense? So, but again, I will state again, there are people who need religion, but they sent me here now with a special mission to try to teach folks you are already religion. I said the other day, I said, if you believe these core values and you believe it yourself and you understand that you are a part of the universe, then that is your religion, not something else. And I hate to use that word, but if you understand these core things that I've talked about, that is your religion, not mine. Not mine, because I can't make you believe anything. I can't make you feel anything. You have to understand it on by yourself. And we can talk about it and share it, and we can have synchronicities like tonight, this morning. But that it's up to the individual to believe. And here's the thing. I prefer to call it spirituality. I agree, but to folks, I was trying to make it trying to say, well, that is your spirituality, but there's also a little something else in it, and that's why I said last night that with that spirituality and everything, that is your religion, because religion, the idea of it in my mind, trying to convey it to y'all, is so that you're going to sit down and meditate, so you light a candle. So that is part of your spirituality, but that sort of becomes your religion. Nobody else's, whatever else, no. But you light a candle and you put on some music and you meditate some. That becomes yes, it's your spirituality, but all of the things that you do, you light the candle, you listen, you go outside, you smoke a joint, that's becomes your religion. Anyway, that's the best way I can explain it. So it has nothing to do with the Bible or anything like that. No, the things that you do to help you keep your faith, or to say, yeah, I still believe. I go outside and I look up at the stars and I go, how can I not believe how big and vast the universe is? And I'm standing on this planet. Of course I'm part of this universe. Of course I'm part of this. And if you have understand the quantum and and we're all made from particles from, the cosmic dust, which is true, and when our bodies die, it goes back into the universe and we become part of the universe again. But we don't become part of the universe again because we already are. We just transition to the next state. There are different states of water. It's ice, it's water, it's vapor, right? And then it's rain, right? So we are such that we are like that because we're a lot of water. But in the same way that when we pass away, we have become, liquid form or we become vapor. And so I would rather think that I become a vapor, and the vapor that is me that disappears when my body dies, that vapor, that soul, that spirit of me, then is already part of the universe now. Okay. So, but I go back to my original form. My original form is the spirit, because that's what keeps reincarnating. I reincarnate in a physical form, but I might reincarnate as a being on another planet somewhere else in the universe. What says I'm going to be here again? Well, there are some say we by choice. Some say that our spirits are trapped here, that this is a prison planet. I'm not quite sure about that. Um, they say that the year long eons, billions of years ago, somebody put some kind of spiritual net around the planet and have been dumping. The Earth became a dumping ground for negative energies, other planets, sort of like Hitler. Hitler got rid of all the musicians and the artisans and the poets and the singers that got rid of them all because they were troublemakers and put them in the concentration camps. Well, Earth became sort of like that because there are a lot of musicians and people. Almost everybody can sing a tune, and some of them can dance. But to the point though, so that the Earth somehow became a dumping ground of souls. And some folks use the Earth as a dumping ground for some really nasty, mean, buggery souls. That's why Jack the Ripper. That's why Ted Bundy. That's why Pick One. You Pick One. So Hitler, and some of his cronies. So, but why do some of these really nasty people show up? They show back up over time because they've been reincarnated. They can't get out of the prison. So even though they have been turned back into spirit form, they still got some nastiness attached to them. And so instead of being able to go roam around in the rest of the universe somewhere, they hit this bug zapper that zaps them back and keeps them here in the earth plane, and they get reincarnated onto this planet. Thus, we keep getting Hitlers. And no, Trump is not a Hitler. When he got shot in the ear last week, God tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Paying attention?" Now, I do believe that there are entities, and there are some people that call these entities devils. I have seen angels, and some of them are in the etherical spirit realm, where others are actually become physical. So some of these beings are from other planets for real, and some of them can slip in and out of an interdimensional. They don't actually go to an interdimensional place, but they slip into a side stream. It's like they turn sideways and you can't see them. It's like a piece of paper, and when you turn it on edge, you can't see it. But turn my hand sideways, you see the whole hand. Well, if you look at this, you can still see the whole hand, but it's in a line. So in the universe of things, sometimes that's how you look at it. So you might be looking at something on edge, and it's like, well, that's not very big, and then it turns. Whoops, you know. So some things look mundane and kind of go along in the universe until they turn sideways, and then you realize, holy crap, it's a dragon. But not all dragons are bad, because my birth sign is a dragon. So I love you all. It's getting, it's really getting late early. 2 hours and 55 minutes. I'm going to finish this bowl with you, and I'm going to leave with some more prayers. Millie Cow needs some prayers. Chloe and everybody else needs prayers. There's probably some folks that, whether they have skimmed by this podcast, somebody somewhere probably needed prayers also that we don't know, never met. There's a soul or two or three or maybe a dozen. Some witch moon. See, there's one. Not that you need any prayers, but it's good to see you, and it's good to, have a synchronicity with you. But that, when the spirits threw me out of bed this morning, I was like, man, there are, from my spiritual point of view, it was like, so my first thought was, yes, I did actually. I took it on time hours ago, 6 hours ago now. Yeah, almost 6 hours. Yep, I did. Thank you. Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment. This is a first timer with the pain management clinic. And I got to take all my meds in. I got to answer all kinds of questions again and all that kind of good groovy stuff. But I'm hoping I really want to get on a subtype of pain management where I can get like a rub down, a massage, where I can get my back worked on because I can't reach it and it's sore all the time. It hurts. It's been a year and a half since my back surgery. I have prayed over it. I've asked the Creator, but it still hurts. But I do feel that if I had some hands on, and that if I could go to, for an hour every week, and they've got these things that I saw them do it to a horse the other day, that they use these little electrodes, and it puts these little pulses, these little shock things on you, and the muscles twitch and do this thing. And it's like, and I've had it done before. That's what I want again, because I feel like if they use something like that, but I need something that'll go deep muscle all the way to the spine. But I don't have the sciatica that I had. But I still can't stand up straight without just almost screaming in pain. It's a 7 to try to straighten up to walk. And when I stand up and get straightened, I can walk okay. It's not the walking part, it's the standing up part that freaking hurts. And I got a back brace and all, and I use my cane when necessary. My biggest thing is that I have to use my cane for is my balance, because there are times when the pain is so sharp that I literally, it stuns me and I'll lose my balance, which is not good because of my medicines. But and sometimes this is to blame. I ain't gonna lie. There are times when I've probably had one puff that I shouldn't have took, you know, and I go to stand up and go somewhere, and it's like, damn, I shouldn't have had that last puff, you know. But so I'm going to take another puff here because I'm fixing to lay down for a couple hours, and y'all wake me up in about 5 hours because I got to go to the doctor. You know, you woke me up in the middle of the night, so y'all wake me up in 5 hours, so I'm not late. You know, somebody better wake my ass up. You know. So, but anyway, interesting though with the synchronicities of the universe, like this morning. So for me, this is a reminder, and you know, and a gracious reminder. You know, that in the universe, somebody needed to hear them. Hear somebody out there needed to hear somebody else. You know, from me to you. And so Miss Olivia, by person, you know, honest to goodness, when my feet hit the floor, I was like, I wonder if she's okay. Because yesterday was the first time I learned about your pops. And so you've been on my mind, even though we've never met. But you've been on my mind, and just hoping that everything works out in whatever way it needs to work out. But, you know, because I've been here in the early mornings with a bunch of yous over the last, you know, however many months or years. But when I woke up and hit the floor, it's like, Olivia, and who else? You know, it was just Miss Pearl. She was like right in there. Almost those in. It's not even a thought. It's like it's just bung in my brain. Oh, Olivia, you know, there. It's like there. So, can you make this available so I can listen to the replay? The last two have yeah, they're stuck on private because my cell phone sometimes it won't save that I've opened it up to public. But absolutely, I'm not trying to hide them. YouTube won't let me change them, and because I do them, the because I'm on the cell phone, it saves it automatically as private, and then I have to wait and then go in and use the settings to edit it and change it to public. And then I change it to public and then go to save, and it goes, YouTube just declared an error. And I try to do it again. I wait a little bit and, you know, try to save it. You know, I go back to, you know, to private, and it still won't let me save it. So then I just have to leave it and let YouTube, whatever it is. And then there are times when then I'll go back in and change it, hit save, and it'll be there. So who knows? So, but there have been times when I've done it 2 dozen times and the damn thing won't save. Are you using the YouTube app or YouTube Studio? I don't know. I don't go to a YouTube app. there's just an icon on my cell phone, and I just tap it. There's a little circle with a square in it, and I hit it, and it puts me into, you know, doing a live stream, or it gives me the opportunity to do shorts. But I don't go into any apps. As soon as I hit the button, I go straight to YouTube. So I don't know. I think I know what the difference is. I think, but maybe it is part of an app. But I just hit the button and it takes me. But one of the things I'm using a Chrome type something with my cell phone. So when I'm logged in to my Gmail account and everything, I just hit it and I don't have to use an app. It just takes me right there, like I was on my computer. using Chrome. Just hit it and it just goes right there, you know. So it's similar. So I don't know. I might help to download the YouTube Studio app. Okay. I got to try to get this computer fixed and figure out what the hell went wrong with the cameras, because the computer was doing fine. I got extra cameras, but then every time I try to do YouTube, it throws me out because it says, "Warning: another camera is in use," and there ain't no other camera in use. And I've checked all the settings. I've went into all the little things. There are no other cameras. But every time I use YouTube, and I've deleted YouTube off the computer and put it back on, and it still says that YouTube says there's another camera in use. There's no other camera in use. So I can still use the computer for computer stuff, but I can't use the computer for any kind of camera stuff. Even one that I plug in that I've used for years, it won't. The computer refuses to let me use another camera because there's another there's another camera in use. No, there isn't. There's a glitch somewhere in a line of code, and I don't know where it is. So I have literally threatened myself. I was thinking about it earlier, and I was like, um, one of these days I'm going to start going back upstairs where I've got an older laptop computer, and I've got a tower that I need to rebuild. And I've got all this computer stuff. I've got monitors upstairs and keyboards and backdrops. I've got studio programs that aren't on this computer, but so I could do blue screen and all this kind of stuff that I used to do. But because I'm stuck downstairs, all that's up in the office. So it's like if I could get back up there, I wouldn't be regulated to using my cell phone. You know what I mean? Not, I love you, cell phone. I do. But, I could go back to real microphones and noises and sound effects and just all kinds of stuff, and video effects as well. But, God, I'm going to have to learn all that stuff over again if I ever get back up there, which will be fun, you know. That'll be fun. When it's too cold outside, I can do my computer thing again because I used to do 3D CAD. That's what I went back to school for. That's what I used to teach it, to students from Georgia Georgia Tech and Mercer and what was the other another college. There were students that come in. Yeah, it's an old laptop with like Windows 7. But one of the most stable Windows versions I ever had was Windows 2000. And I still have the CD. And it would run all the programs that I would need to run, and stable. Um, the Windows 2000 was built on the Windows NT kernel, which was what all of the businesses ran off was Windows NT. And so they combined Windows NT and Windows with Windows 2000. And that was the most stable. And I mean, I did a lot of 3D CAD and a lot of stuff with two and three different um, um, monitors at the same time. And I put them things through hell. All kinds of big drawings up, and I'd pull them from one screen to another, and I'd be doing this stuff and doing over here, and I'd be running programs and have other things open and never crash. Never crash. Never crash. Windows 2000. And I still have it's 520. Cheers, everybody. So, but Windows 2000, yeah, I'm like, if I have to, I just clean it out and put that on it and see what happens, you know, because it would not necessarily be what I could do over the internet so much as I could run programs with it that are stable, without a bunch of outside bullshit. But I don't know if it would work with the internet net much. It used to, come to think of it. I ran Windows 2000 when there was an internet. I'll see why not, but anyway. So Miss Olivia, and to all of you, Miss Chloe, Witch Moon, good to see you. As soon as YouTube will allow me, I'm going to put those videos that are private at the moment. As soon as it allows me to save it, and I hit save, it just doesn't do it. It gives me an error. So cosmic hugs to y'all. And for Millie Cow and for anybody else that made it this far, the Jesus thing, don't let Christians try to, if you want to have a conversation about Jesus, but don't let them try to shame you into, well, if you don't go to church, you don't belong to it. And, they will try to shame you. Oh my God. I've got friends and folks that when I get near them, and they're good people, but they're like, well, how come you haven't decided to come to our church yet? Y'all, I done told you, no offense. And I love you, I do, but I just, you know, well, we'll see what happens when you talk to Jesus on the other side. And I'm like, well, but I don't have to wait to talk to Jesus to get to the other side. And they're like, what? Because in my world, I can talk to Jesus anytime I want to. I don't have to wait to get to the other side because the Spirit is already in me. The Spirit's already in us. And so, um, but when you start believing in that core value, yes, I'm part of the universe. Yes, my spirit is in me. Yes, my spirit is part of you. Yes, so when you believe these certain things and really believe them, then the universe will really talk to you. It really will. Because there'll be some other things it'll be like all of a sudden you'll go, oh my God, that's part of it too. Oh my God, that's part of it too. Oh my God, that's part of it too. It is like, it's overwhelming at first. And then when the acceptance sort of sinks in that you're a part of everything at the same time, because in one of the spiritual things in the shaman death, going back to what I talked about 3 hours ago, for those folks who are trying to be in that transition period, they're trying to be a male has now, Elon Musk, his son became a girl and they transitioned him. And now his name is dead, his dead name. And so for those folks who are struggling to find their spiritual path, they have to, the dead name to those folks, not transition into another, but you are transitioning from a non-believer of the spirit to a believer of the spirit without religion or whatever, to just come to the understanding, oh my God, the spirit's in me. Oh my God, I'm part of the universe. Oh my God, wow. When you get there and believe it, don't let anybody talk you out of it. When you believe it and you understand it and you start living it every single day, wow. that becomes your religion. It's you, it's who you are in this universe. And we've been here before. And it's going to be interesting where we go after this. So, but I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the Creator in the universe. And also how to reject the craziness. It's important you learn how to not accept that mess. So if somebody sends you a nasty message, you don't have to read it. You don't have to accept it. But if you read it and you accept it, then that nastiness is attached to you. So if you know something is going to leave you with some nasty goo on you, don't read it. Don't do it. Don't let that stuff stick to you. And you'll be better off in the end. So reject that negative stuff and just don't pay attention to it. Unless you need to. I mean, like unless somebody's trying to hurt you or steal or rob you or something, you need to kind of pay attention to that kind of stuff. But in general, somebody throws some mud at you, psst, who cares? But I got on my new shirt. It's okay. In the long run, trust me, it's okay. But it got on my new shirt. You're not going to die. Calm down. It'll wash out. And if it doesn't, then turn it into a rag. Or do some tie dye and change it into another color, but it's okay. So, dear friends, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And I sincerely, honestly mean it. And I hope that you find the sincerity and the honesty within yourself to believe it for yourself. Don't do it for me, but I'm proud if you do it for yourself. So, I got a doctor's appointment in a few hours. Cheers, everybody. Please be safe. Until next time, I am Hawkeye Two Feathers, also known as David Knoll, and I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And Miss Witchy Moon, I'll get it switched out ASAP. Miss Olivia, please be safe. Keep your stuff together. And Millie Cow, prayers out to you. And just you've already got the faith. You just need to keep it. So until next time,